Or to look like Caitlin Clark has fired shots at Stephanie White and their offense, man. For this one here.
Caitlin Clark just left Phoenix with a whole lot to say about how the Indiana Fever are running things. And let's just say her comments weren't exactly a hallmark card for Coach Stephanie White's offense. This wasn't a slip-up. This was pointed. This was deliberate. And now people are talking.
Video. We got the GOAT. Caitlin Clark sat down with one of the greatest in Sue Bird. They talk all things Caitlin Clark, her career, Iowa, the Indiana Fever. But Caitlin Clark, let it be known, she does not like this Stephanie White offense, how these players in the WNBA don't even know where to move or how to move or where to cut. And that leads to a lot of her turnovers. And she also states how much she misses Lisa Bluter.
Was Caitlin calling out her coach, her teammates, or both? Comment your thoughts below. Caitlin Clark walked out of Phoenix not just with a loss on the scoreboard, but with that look. You know, the one that says, I'm about 2 seconds away from saying exactly what I think and not caring who hears it. And sure enough, after that mess of a game, she didn't exactly come out with glowing praise for how the Indiana Fever are being run. If anything, she delivered the most polite "this offense stinks" you're going to hear all season. And the best part? She didn't have to use Stephanie White's name for everyone to know who she was talking about. Now, before we even get into the meat of this, let's make something clear. Caitlin Clark is not a rookie anymore. Year 2. She's been through the hype machine, the travel schedule, the physical hits, and the reality check that comes with playing in a league where you're not the only All-American on the floor. She's no longer she's still adjusting kid. She's the face of the franchise, the one fans come to see, and the one ESPN puts on graphics, even when the Fever aren't on TV. That means her words, even the carefully worded ones, carry weight.
When I first committed to Iowa, I said from day one that I wanted to take them to a Final Four, and a lot of people were just like, that would never happen. A lot of people that were really close to me, and a lot of people that I trusted, in my life, they never believed that I could help them achieve to where we ended up getting, other than really Coach Bluter. So I'm really thankful for her. And, obviously it evolved over the course of 4 years. It was certainly a process, and I had some really good teammates that were some really good players, and really just bought in and were some of my best friends. But I also think Coach Bluter, she really coached me. It wasn't like Caitlin just gets to do whatever she wants. I was held accountable more than anyone on the team by far.
Yeah, there was film sessions,
yeah,
right?
She would lay into me. It was tough. But
did she give you the green light? Did you take the green light?
I think I gave myself the
green
light. And she never told me not to.
And after a 30-point beatdown at the hands of the Mercury, she decided to give everyone a little reminder of what real offensive structure looks like by talking about Iowa. Oh yes, we're back to the Lisa Bluter comparisons. And you could practically hear Fever fans groaning before she even finished the sentence. Because here's the thing. When Caitlin starts talking about her college days in glowing detail, she's not just reminiscing. She's drawing a contrast. And that contrast is screaming. We're not running anything that makes sense right now. She went on about how Bluter had the offense humming with spacing. Shooters everywhere, a clear plan, and everyone knowing their role. She even laughed and called it brainwashing. The kind of repetition that made every player react instinctively. Then she drops a line that should have every WNBA coach wincing. Even now, at the professional level, I'm like, how do people not know where to move? It blows my mind. Yeah, that's not just a throwaway comment. That's a warning shot. Because she's not talking about 8th graders here. She's talking about professional basketball players. And she's saying they don't know the basics of where to be on the court. And sure, you could say she's aiming at teammates. But when your team's entire offensive system is built by the coach, how is that not about the coach too?
It was very similar. All I would attack, we're known to have 5 shooters on the floor at all time. We played with really good floor spacing, and at Iowa it was the same way. 4 people were on the floor that could shoot at the same time. Then obviously we usually played with a true post, but they rarely missed too. Mon never missed. Hannah Stolke was tremendous when I was there too, and even our backup post players. I always think about how Coach Bluter ran practices and things, and I'm very fortunate looking back and now going to watch other colleges' practices and things like that. She really was so intentional about making sure everyone was on the same page and knew what they were doing and knew their role in a way. When I talk to people about it, I joke she brainwashed people, not actually, but
no, part of it is a little bit of it.
Even now at the professional level, I'm how do people not know where to move? It blows my mind still. But I think it just makes me really appreciative of what Coach Bluter was able to do when we were at Iowa. She was so smart. She was able to construct a team and make sure everyone always knew what they were going to do, whether you were the smartest basketball player on the team or you.
And let's be real, we've seen it. Anyone who's watched more than 2 Fever games knows exactly what she's talking about. Possessions where she's waving someone to cut, and they stand there like they're in a wax museum. Plays where she throws a pass to an open space, because she knows that's supposed to be where the cutter goes. Except the cutter never came, and boom, turnover. And guess whose box score that shows up on? Not the stationary teammate. Now, I know there's a segment of Fever fans who will rush to defend the motion offense, but let's not kid ourselves. It's been clunky all year, and motion is a generous word for it. Half the time it's standing around the three-point line watching Caitlin dribble. It's almost comical how many times she ends up bailing out a busted possession with a pull-up three from the parking lot. That's not offense. That's desperation. And then there's the timing of all this. This isn't after a 1-point loss where you could say, we just needed one more shot to fall to NO. This is after a blowout where the Fever looked like they'd been dropped into the middle of a pickup game against a team that had actually practiced. The Mercury were running sets, moving the ball, making cuts, basic basketball. The Fever? You'd think they were trying to set a record for most contested shots in a single game.so when Caitlin goes into detail about Blooder's intentionality, about how every player knew their role, about how the floor spacing created constant options. She's doing more than complimenting her old coach. She's pointing out exactly what's missing now. And unless Stephanie White's ears are made of stone, she knows it, and I can already hear the defenders. But she didn't say Stephanie White's name. Please, if someone at your job talks about how great their old boss was because they had clear communication, made sure everyone understood their role, and actually had a plan, they're not just making small talk. What makes this even spicier is that Caitlin isn't wrong. The Fever offense is a mess. It's built for a read and react style without players who excel at reading or reacting. Caitlin thrives when she can orchestrate, but when her teammates aren't in sync, she ends up forced into hero ball mode. And while she can hit some insane shots, no player can carry that burden every night without it breaking down.
I think that's even been something like me and Steph have always talk about when we go and watch film, and even that New York game where I played really, really well. Obviously scored a lot of points. I think I had 9 assists or 10 assists that game. This last game this year. Mm-hmm. I started the fourth quarter off with 3 turnovers in a row or 2 turnovers in a row, and Steph yanked me, and she was like this is a learning moment. You got to be able to yes, maybe it could have been there. Maybe you could have thrown a little bit better of a pass. Maybe they could have caught it, but do we need that in this moment? No. Right. And then she subbed me back in, and there was a play where I kind of got a steal, and we're going in transition, and Kelsey Mitchell just takes off down the middle of the floor. And so there's 2 people kind of by her, and I literally go to grab the ball, and then I just dribble out. And I literally just start smiling so big, and I look at Steph, and I told her after the game.
That better be on film.
Yeah, I'm you don't understand how hard it was for me to not throw that. And she's like, oh, I know, trust me. Everybody was we saw you about to throw that. But I think it's just kind of a learning process. And it goes back to even my shot thing. It's just time and score and understanding. I think that's where I can still kind of improve. Do we really need that sequence of a game? Have we just scored twice, or have we just missed 2 shots in a row?
And remember, this isn't the first time she's hinted at this. Go back to that earlier podcast where she made the same blows my mind comment about players not knowing where to move. Back then, people shrugged it off as her adjusting to the pro game. Now, she's seasoned enough to know exactly how this league works, and she's still saying it. That's not rookie naivety. That's a diagnosis. The blowout in Phoenix just poured gasoline on the fire. Watching the Fever get run out of the gym while their offensive sets looked like an open mic improv show had to be infuriating. And you could see it in her body language, the quick huddles with teammates, the frustrated claps after missed rotations, the way she walked off without much eye contact. That's not what get them next time energy. That's what we need to fix this yesterday energy. And that's why this feels aimed at more than just the players, because ultimately, the system comes from the top. You can't have an entire roster consistently out of position without looking at the coach. You can't keep having spacing issues without wondering why it's not being drilled in practice. And if the coach's system doesn't fit your best player, your franchise player, then what are we even doing here? It's also worth noting that Caitlin's not the kind of player to blow up behind the scenes and then play nice in public. She's competitive to the core, and she's got a history of holding teammates to high standards. At Iowa, she could do that because everyone bought in. In Indiana, she's still trying to get everyone to buy into something. And right now, that something seems to be an offense that doesn't maximize her. And here's the kicker. She's absolutely right to say it now. The second year is the perfect time. Year 1, you keep your head down, adjust, and let people chalk things up inexperience. Year 2, you have enough credibility to start pointing out the cracks in the system. Wait until year 3 or 4, and it starts to look like bitterness. Do it now, and it looks like leadership. And make no mistake, fans can see the cracks too. You don't have to be a coach to notice when 3 players are clogging the same corner while Caitlin's screaming for someone to space out. You don't need a clipboard to see that when she comes off a high screen, there's no second option because nobody's moved. It's like watching a band where only one person knows a song and everyone else is just waiting to guess the next chord. Take that game against Dallas earlier this season. Remember the third quarter where she came down, waved for a screen, and both her screener and the weak side forward rolled into the exact same spot under the basket? The defense didn't even have to rotate. They just stood there in the paint like they were guarding a folding chair. Caitlin tried to thread the needle. Turnover. Fast break the other way. And people wonder why she's venting on podcasts, or how about that ugly stretch in the Chicago game? She's at the top of the key running a simple horn set. Except the 2 bigs on the elbows apparently decided horns means let's set screens for each other instead. No lanes, no spacing. Clock runs down. Caitlin Jack's contested 28-footer. That's not a set. That's survival mode. When you pile moments like that up game after game, the frustration builds. And sure, maybe some of this is about individual players not executing. But when the same mistakes happen across lineups, across weeks, across different opponents, it's bigger than one player having an off night. That's systemic. That's on coaching. Now, to be fair, Stephanie White's not an idiot. She's been around the league, she's won at different levels, and she knows what it takes to run a team. But there's a difference between having a system and having the right system for your personnel. And right now, the Fever's offense feels like a pair of shoes one size too small. You can walk in them, but every step is uncomfortable. And that's where the Lisa Blutter comparisons sting. Because when Caitlin talks about Iowa's 5 shooters on the floor approach, she's really talking about maximizing space and trust. Every player on that roster knew the reads, knew the triggers, and could hit a shot if left open. That forced defenses to stretch, which gave Caitlin more room to operate in Indiana. Too often, she's looking at a floor with maybe 2 legit shooting threats, which lets defenders pack the paint and turn every drive into a wrestling match. The brainwashing line she used about Iowa? Yeah, that wasn't random. She meant AT Iowa. If you drove baseline, the opposite wing knew to slide to the corner. If you ran a pick and roll, the weak side big either popped or dove based on the defense's reaction. These weren't suggestions, they were habits. And she's flat out telling us those habits aren't here in the WNBA, at least not on her team. And here's the part the league probably won't love. She's not just calling out Indiana with those words. She's calling out the general lack of offensive discipline in parts of the WNBA. There's a reason some teams look so much sharper than others. And it's not just talent. It's structure. It's intentionality. When you watch the Aces or the Liberty, you see movement with purpose. When you watch the Fever, you sometimes see motion for the sake of motion, or worse, no motion at all. Now, will Stephanie White take this as constructive criticism or as a shot across the bow? That's the million-dollar question. The professional move would be to have an honest conversation. Maybe even tweak the offense to give Caitlin more structured options. The insecure move would be to treat it like insubordination and double down. The season's second half will tell us which way she goes. And it's not like this is unprecedented. Star players have been influencing systems forever. The difference is most do it behind closed doors. Caitlin doing it on a podcast is bold and calculated. She knows the public pressure this creates. She knows the fan base will latch onto it. And she knows that once it's out there, the narrative becomes the offense needs fixing for Caitlin. Which, by the way, is true that she's the engine. If you got a Ferrari in the garage, you don't run it on gravel roads and wonder why it's not hitting top speed. You give it a track. You build conditions for it to succeed. And right now, Indiana's track is full of potholes. The danger here, of course, is chemistry. You can motivate some teammates by publicly raising the bar, but others might just resent it. And in a league this small, reputations stick. If the Fever turn around and start winning, this whole thing will be remembered as a leadership moment. If they keep losing, it becomes Caitlin's calling out her team again, and the media will frame it as friction. Fan reaction so far has been split right down the middle. Half are saying, finally, someone said it. The other half are clutching pearls about locker room unity. And then you got the trolls from other fan bases already firing up memes about her missing Iowa more than she likes Indiana. That's the double-edged sword of being the face of the league. Every word is ammo for someone. But here's the truth. Caitlin Clark's standards are high because they have to be. She's not in this to just put up numbers on a bad team. She wants wins. She wants playoff runs. And if that means making people uncomfortable, so be it. The great ones don't apologize for wanting more. The blowout in Phoenix might end up being the turning point of the Fever season. Not because of the loss itself, but because of what it revealed. You can get away with clunky offense when you're scraping by with close wins. When you're getting blown out by 30 and your star is openly talking about how much better her old system was. That's a wake-up call, whether Stephanie White answers it or not. Well, that's the story we'll be watching for the rest of the season as, oh yeah, Caitlin Clark goes off, but in the most professional, media-savvy way possible. No screaming, no finger-pointing, just a clear comparison between what was and what is. And if you can't read between those lines, you're choosing not to SO now the ball's in the Fever's court, literally and figuratively. Will they adapt to fit their star, or keep forcing her into a system that's not working? One thing for sure, Caitlin's not afraid to say what's on her mind.